Hello all. My name is Krish Naik, and I've been into the space of data science from past 12 to 13 years. I've been working in this space. I've almost worked with big companies from Sapient to Honeywell to ENY, explored both product-based and service-based companies, developed a lot of different AI applications, let it be with respect to IoT devices or creating machine learning pipelines. So everything I've actually done. Then I also started a company called as iNeuron. It got merged with PhysicsWallah. Now, in short, I'm just focusing on YouTube and some of my courses in Udemy. That's it. So that was more about me, but my entire focus is on making people know about AI and how they can specifically use in their day-to-day work along with the companies, right? So this is a brief intro about myself. Thank you for Abhishek for calling me in this particular podcast. I know like we were having a lot of discussions like when we can
Yeah,
actually do and all, but
yeah.
sorry, I was really busy in
No,
some of the other things. So finally we could make this podcast.
no, I really appreciate all your community work. You are very active on YouTube, doing a lot of things on Udemy. I don't know how you're managing a lot of time, but
Mm.
so basically, Krish,
Mhm.
lot of my subscribers are into the DevOps space.
Mhm.
So I can say 95% are in DevOps and cloud. And recently we have seen AI, which is trending, ML, right? So many of our subscribers want to understand, is it good to transition into MLOps and what exactly is MLOps? Because I have done some videos, you have worked at the ground level. Maybe would be awesome to hear from you.
Okay, perfect. So let me talk about this. Before, like when I started my career in 2011, I started as a .NET developer. Okay.
Okay.
Now, when I started as a .NET developer, there we were specifically developing some software application. We are following that same agile process.
Mm,
And during that point of time, whenever we create any kind of software engineering application specifically, we follow a specific process to take that product to the production. Okay.
yes. Yes.
And in that process, where you like, let's say that if you are building a software application, if people have worked in the companies, the what we do is that we create different environments. Let's
Yeah.
say a UAT environment is there, QA environment is there, dev environment is there,
Mm,
and then you have the production environment, right? Now, in all this specific environment, what happens is that whenever we are developing our application in sprint basis, right?
mm,
This needs to be getting automated deployment in all the environments that is there, right? As soon as
mm,
we
mm,
probably
mm.
push the sprint one and all,
Yeah.
parallelly testing will also happen, bugs will also get raised, and we continuously need to fix these issues. Now, in software engineering projects, most of the work that we did followed the same cycle. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
But now the time is related to AI. You
Mm,
have machine learning, you have deep learning, and now you are developing a lot of data science projects, data science applications, which are specifically doing some kind of work, right? And there you're
mm,
solving some problem statement. And the main problem statement that you're specifically solving is by developing some good models,
mm,
where your models are able to do the predictions, they are able to do the recommendations, they are able to do some kind of task.
mm.
Now, obviously, this becomes little bit different than the software engineering applications that we used to create before. As a DevOps, we were focused more onto the deployment part.
Yes.
But here, in any data science projects and all, what we basically do is that our training process of the model, right? Before training, also, you really need to follow the entire life cycle of a data science project.
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
In that life cycle, you have ETL pipelines, you have, from feature engineering, from data ingestion to feature engineering to data transformation to model training, model evaluation, and then model deployment and monitoring. So many steps are there.
yeah.
And this model, as new data comes, this model needs to be retrained. You
Retrain.
know,
Yeah.
we really need to focus on a way that how we can automate this entire pipeline. And
Mm,
that is where MLOps became very popular. That is the reason we say MLOps as machine learning operations. Okay.
got it.
So that is the main process out there. And when we compare DevOps, right? Why we say specifically DevOps that are related to software engineering applications.
Mm,
Here we are focusing more into the data science stuff, machine learning stuff, deep learning stuff, so that we find out a way to take this machine learning models or deep learning models to the production level, right?
got it.
That is where we specifically use. Now, coming to the MLOps tool part. Now, MLOps tools are something like which is useful in managing this entire life cycle of a machine learning or data science project.
Hmm.
Okay. Like in DevOps, also, we may use some of the tools that may overlap with MLOps tools. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
let's say if I talk about Airflow, if I talk about GitHub Actions, CI/CD pipelines, these all are overlapping. But
Hmm.
if I consider some of the tasks, let's say some of the tasks like feature engineering,
Hmm.
or model monitoring, model evaluation. We have statistical analysis for that. We have different libraries for that. We have so many open source libraries which can actually perform that task. So their specific MLOps tools will come. And
Hmm.
right now it is becoming really popular because for those kind of task itself, a lot of open source libraries are actually coming.
Got
So
it.
this is a brief idea. I hope I spoke too much, but
No,
I
no.
think you got a brief idea about what DevOps is and how one step we are going ahead with MLOps to
Hmm.
manage the entire life cycle of a machine learning project.
So, Krish, would it be okay to say that somewhere MLOps is inspired from DevOps or bringing the DevOps practices into the ML workflow? Can we say that?
Hey, you can just consider this as DevOps is a practice which you probably do it for some specific kind of application,
Hmm.
right?
Got it.
MLOps is for some different purpose because your entire
Hmm.
machine learning project is developed in a different life cycle.
Makes sense.
Yeah, some of the common things will be that you may be following the agile process over there also, as I said,
Hmm.
right? Some
Hmm.
of the MLOps tools will be overlapping over there. See,
Got it.
I like a person who is a DevOps can also become an MLOps engineer. I'm not saying
Hmm.
that they cannot, but they really need to understand that how the life cycle of a data science project works, uh,
Exactly.
what all things they really need to focus in order to train the model, how they can
Hmm.
probably automate this, how they really need to focus on the model monitoring, which is a very important task in any data science application.
Got it.
So you can just consider in that way. Inspired by, I can say yes, it can be inspired by because initially we used to do some different kind of task. Now,
Hmm.
as time goes on, right, with machine learning, deep learning, now LLM models are also coming, generative AI models are coming. Now that MLOps is becoming now LLM ops,
Yeah.
So LLM focused. Before it was machine learning operation, now LLM machine learning operation.
Yeah.
So like that. So it will keep on, evolving and new tools will come. It's all like how we are able to use those kind of tools and
Hmm.
integrate with our projects.
So one question that people often ask, like I think there are 1,000 comments on the channel where people ask, like, Abhishek, to become a MLOps engineer, should I master machine learning? Like, do I need to know a model development or not? Or is it
So
okay if I just know the workflow? Sorry.
see, I've seen many people, let's say I'll give you one example, right? Many people say that to probably crack something in the product-based companies, you need to know DSA also, right?
Yeah.
First round will be DSA.
Yeah.
But I'm very much lucky that I never got asked DSA. you
Okay.
know when I was a fresher also directly by college placement I got hired, but any companies I went, no one
Hmm.
focused on DSA. Instead they focused on projects for me, right?
Got it.
But what I feel is that DSA is important.
Hmm.
DSA is important for logic building. It is important for making sure that you're a good coder and all, right? So
Hmm.
similarly, whether you become an MLOps engineer, whether you become an ML engineer, whether you become an AI engineer, I would suggest data science is something that, the kind of task that you will do in the companies is completely different. You really need to have a good background knowledge. You need to have a
Hmm.
good domain knowledge. You need to keep on thinking why this solution is like that, why that solution is like that. Because tomorrow, if you are, okay, let's say that you're developing a model which will predict where tomorrow the stock market will crash or not. So
Hmm.
if suddenly you develop a model without having any knowledge about finance, without having the concept of time series data and all, if you try to just develop a model and you say that, hey, now I've developed, I've got 99% accuracy, this, that, and suddenly tomorrow your model starts giving wrong predictions, it can really create a very huge impact for the
Hmm.
company, right? So my suggestion would be that yes, anytime in this particular field, if you're coming, I would suggest learn from the basics. It is really important. Without that, I'll not consider that you have become a good developer and all. I know, see, MLOps engineer will not be probably building the model and all, but at
Hmm.
least they should have that idea about model monitoring, how the pipeline is developed, you know,
Makes sense.
things needs then really need to know that because tomorrow if they're also having a discussion with the data scientist team and all, they should not be numb at that point of that. They should also put some kind of points in front of them. So I suggest
Very well.
that
Yeah.
everybody getting into this particular field should learn things from basics.
Yeah, I think that is amazingly put. Like, just like even to become a DevOps engineer, you need to understand the software development lifecycle, right?
Yeah,
It cannot be that you just know how to write a CI/CD pipeline and you
yeah,
become a DevOps engineer. You need to know each
yes.
and every stage. What are the
Hmm.
manual efforts? How do you overcome those manual efforts? Just like MLOps engineer also need to know the complete ML flow, right?
True. Definitely true.
Got it. And uh, Krish, somewhere I read that one of the major challenges with ML models is that almost 90% of the ML models don't make it to production. Or the number might be something here and there. But do you think MLOps is very important because it can reduce that number and increase the more number of models going into production, or increase the pace of those models getting into production?
Yeah, definitely. See, most of the things that you probably see in the internet, blogs and all, they'll talk about model training.
Yeah.
Hardly someone talks about what happens after model training,
Hmm.
or what happens after the model is deployed. So we don't have any strategy, we don't have any pipeline. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, we'll take new data and we'll try to just create a new model at regular interval of time. But does not work, in a real world company, in a real world industry, when you're developing applications, there are a lot of things to consider after the model is deployed.
Hmm.
We have to make sure that we have to monitor the model regularly. Usually in my previous projects, what we used to do, like based on the frequency of data that we are getting from the client, we used to train the model every Friday. You can just consider
Hmm.
in that way. We used to collect all the data for 1 week. We had to clean that particular data. We had to do multiple things, and then we have to retrain the model. And it's like we used to just not create one model. Like there were like hundreds of models that needs to be trained,
Hmm.
and it's just like I would consider I'd take an expertise help of all the model. So
Okay.
there's something called as ensemble techniques and all, what we used to specifically use. So one model was an expert in something, the other model was expert in something, the other
Hmm.
model was expert in something. So like that, we used to combine the power of them. We used to harness the power of them, and that
Okay.
is what we specifically used to do. See, this it was possible, and every time we used to monitor those models, why this is coming down, when it needs to
Okay.
be retrained. We have to make sure that at every pipeline is connected. If that is not connected, then definitely model will not go to the production. It will definitely fail at some point of time because we are not doing the right thing. Now before that also, when we go to the deployment stage also, right, there's some mistake that many people will do. They'll not focus on feature engineering. They'll not focus on what kind of features to probably take to solve that particular problem. Some people will just be happy, hey, take anything, try to get the accuracy and all, but that does not work in that way. We have to think whether this problem is actually solvable. And some people are like, hey, try to solve this with the help of machine learning.
Hmm.
Every problem try to solve with the help of machine learning. So
Uh-huh.
that also needs to be thought of. Not everything needs to be solved in machine learning. That you really need to understand. You need to understand which problems are specifically suitable for machine learning.
Hmm.
But what I've seen in companies, that everybody, just by hearing that particular word ML, DL, they'll just try to solve every problem,
It's
and that is
fancy.
where they will fail. Yeah, that is where they will fail. You know. So I had one of the requirement from the client, which I rejected it. I'll tell you. Okay,
Okay.
what
Yeah.
what was the problem statement? The problem statement was very simple, that we need to, every half an hour we need to determine whether a person is going to buy something or not. That's it. So
Okay.
how do I determine that whether a person is going to buy something? Can I say that Abhishek is going to buy something right now? Yeah. Or 10 to 10:30, whether Abhishek will buy something? It's not possible, right?
Yeah.
Unless and until you have those kind of data, like a person is sitting in front of the Amazon and is buying continuously. So that kind of use cases will definitely come over there, and I said, hey, this is not possible.
Yeah.
Anyhow, you tell me, okay, in the first half,
Yeah.
he or she may buy, or second half, he or she may buy. I can give you that prediction.
Uh,
Okay. But I cannot give you every half an hour. How can we probably give that someone is going to buy or not? Something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think that's perfect. Like, you need to have a right problem, only then use AI for that problem. It's not
Yes.
you learn AI and look for the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Also, Krish, like if you look at the students who are usually coming out of colleges, right? You can categorize them into two types. One,
Mm-hmm.
hardcore development, who are
Mm-hmm.
interested in development. They want to, learn. different kinds of programming languages, build
Hmm.
applications. Second is people who are not so much into development, so they look out for operations related work. Like
Hmm.
it can be cloud, it can be DevOps, or it can be recently the MLOps part. What do you think is the future of this? Like, do you see this is a skill to pick up in 2024?
What DevOps and MLOps you can say?
Yeah, yeah, DevOps,
Yeah,
MLOps.
it is a good skill altogether. I feel that anything that is related to cloud is always good. You have a lot of work. You can probably get into any team. But one thing, what I feel is that for a fresher, they need to have some kind of experience,
Got it.
to probably get into this. At least an internship, or at
Hmm.
least they may have built some kind of products of their own where they have used all these kind of tools.
Projects.
That is what I have seen. When freshers usually face this as a problem, and the reason is very simple, because becoming a DevOps engineer or MLOps engineer have a lot of risk into it, right? You really need to have a good understanding about what you are doing, because you're going to work with something that is going through the production, and you
Hmm.
cannot probably make mistakes over there, right? So obviously there some kind of experience is required, at least 1 year, at least some projects.
Hmm.
And so I would suggest, like, I'm not saying that fresher cannot do it. I usually say that, hey, if in the college time you're probably utilizing that time and you're building some good products, you
Yes.
can fit into any part of the industry. Because
Do some
if I,
projects.
if I want to hire someone, I'll not probably go and see the resume nowadays. I'll say, what you have developed, show me. If
Okay.
I see that, like I've hired recently two guys, in my
Hmm.
team.
Hmm.
I've just seen what work you have done, and I've directly hired them. I said that, hey, I'll give you this much salary, you come and work on this remote, all these things. And they're working
Hmm.
without any interviews. I just saw what they have actually developed. That's it.
On the GitHub, is it?
No, no, no. They have developed something for me. They
Okay.
told
Okay.
that they want to develop this thing. After
Okay.
developing, then you decide whether you want to hire or not. They give me a
Oh.
challenge like
Oh. Okay.
that. And they're working so really well. Every week I monitor them. I try to see an amazing results they are coming up
Oh.
know.
Got it. So, like people talk about projects, right? To gain practical experience, whether it can be people transitioning or people starting with MLOps, let's say. So, projects is something that they will be looking for. How easily we can find open source related projects for someone to do practice on MLOps? Like, can I go to GitHub today or Hugging Face and find some projects?
Yes, see, in GitHub only, there's so many things. Let me talk about so many MLOps tools, okay?
Hmm.
Specifically. Let's say, since MLOps tools is there, so I'm considering for machine learning operations, okay?
Okay.
So there is an amazing tool which is called as MLflow.
Yeah.
I hope you have heard about it. It is
Hmm.
completely for experiment tracking. You can directly go and use it.
Hmm.
It is available. It is completely open source. In machine learning, we specifically work on different kind of data. So we
Hmm.
have something called as data versioning tool. So in
Okay.
GitHub, we have tracking of the code, right? We don't
Yeah.
have tracking of the data. So DVC, what it does is that data versioning control, it basically tracks the data. Okay.
Got it.
You want to get an experience how to work in a cloud in open source, then you can use DAGs Hub repository. There you'll be able to create data pipelines, you'll be able to create data versioning control, you'll be able to perform experiment tracking, you'll be able to do all these specific things, completely open source, available to you. Anybody can probably log in and just do it. You know, even in AWS and all, they provide you free tier and all. You can go and use it. If you're a college student, you can probably take that particular credits and start working on it. So there are a lot of things. And right now, what I see is that more focus is given on the open source. Now,
Hmm.
what cloud companies is basically doing is that whatever open source is there, they will try to deploy in their cloud. And
Yeah.
whatever inferencing part will be taking place, that charges they are actually taking.
Yeah.
So they're focusing more on this specific thing where open source platforms are basically used. Now, after that, you have Airflow, right? To
Hmm.
create the entire ETL pipeline, schedule the ETL pipeline, the entire workflow, you can use Airflow. There is something called as Astro Cloud, okay? Astronomer.io. So Astro, what it does is that it manages the Airflow with the help of Dockers, So the entire
Nice.
management part is basically taken. Astro provides you cloud that is
Hmm.
also available for some number of requests, some number of
Credits.
credits, you
Yeah.
basically get it, right?
Yeah.
So you can definitely use that, to just see how the deployment is basically happening. All those things are there. So it's all about like what you're building and how you're building. Everything is provided in this internet world.
Amazing. So to start with, there are obviously open source things people could try, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Chris, one final question. Like for people who want to start with MLOps, because when there are so many tools, people get confused. Like, what is your simple roadmap? like if you can suggest to our subscribers, like start from here and probably connect these dots, and you can be an MLOps engineer. Even a high level one
So
would help.
see how things actually work over here is that to understand every tool where it is used. Okay.
Okay.
So in your mind, you just keep the entire life cycle of a data science project. First, you have a data science project.
Hmm.
Then the next step is basically in a company when you go, right? The next step is requirement gathering. Okay.
Hmm.
In requirement gathering, you have business analyst team, you have product owner team, right?
Hmm.
Domain expertise team. They probably go ahead and discuss it, write down all the requirements for that particular project. Then after writing it down, they go to the next step. In the next step, they provide all those requirements to data scientist or data analyst team. Now, this data scientist and data analyst team, what they do is that along with the discussion with the domain expert, they try to find out what data to be used to solve this particular problem statement. Okay.
Got it.
Now, once they identify the source, now identifying the source basically means it may be the data may be available in internal database, it may be
Hmm.
available in IoT devices, it may be available in third-party APIs, it may be available in some cloud platforms. It may be paid, it may be not paid, it may be
Hmm.
open
Hmm.
source.
Hmm.
Once they identify the data source, right? Now it's time for the big data engineering team to combine those sources of data, right?
Hmm.
In the form of data pipeline, that is where your ETL pipeline is working, right?
Yes.
Extract, transform, load.
Look.
Now I know
Hmm.
ETL pipeline is there. Now you need to understand for ETL pipeline what all MLOps tools I need to use so that
Hmm.
I'll be able to schedule this. And that is where we use Airflow.
Hmm.
So that is where your cycle begins, right? Now, I am very good at Airflow. I will start working on this. I'll create multiple projects. There are a lot of there are a lot of APIs that is available to you, free APIs. Just go ahead, ingest it, do some kind of transformation. And then while after that data pipeline, ETL pipeline is completed, the entire data that you're pulling, right, it will be stored in some kind of source, right? It can
Hmm.
be MongoDB, it can be PostgreSQL, it can be any kind of database. So this becomes your ETL pipeline. Now, as a person, you know this ETL pipeline, right? You know which MLOps tools is used. Now,
Hmm.
in the market, you go and explore more MLOps tools, right?
Got
So
it.
this becomes your this part, right? Now, after this data is basically stored in the data source, right? Like MongoDB, Postgres. The next step is that your life cycle of a data science project starts, wherein you'll first of all take the data. Data
Hmm.
scientist will take the data, right? It is called as data ingestion. It's just going to read the data from the MongoDB or any other database here. Now, inside that data ingestion, what all things we used? As I said, data versioning control is required because
Got it.
every week I'll be getting new data.
DVC.
So
Yeah.
DVC, I've basically used the MLOps part. Then we go to the next step, feature engineering. So in feature engineering, we'll try to see that what all amazing libraries are basically there. How do
Hmm.
we identify these things and that things, right? And then this next step is basically about model training. Now in the model training, I may use, for experiment tracking, I may use MLflow.
Yeah.
All the parameters, all the metrics, I will try to track it by the MLflow by
In
performing hyperparameter tuning.
Instruct labs or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
done. That is done. Now we go to the next step. The next step is
Hmm.
Dockerization,
Got it.
right? Docker is also completed over here now. We'll try to Dockerize the entire application. We are ready to do the deployment. Now, for doing the deployment, we may write GitHub Actions again and open like completely free for everyone to use, right? So we'll create a YAML file. We'll do the entire CI/CD pipeline. And then we'll try to deploy it in some cloud,
Hmm.
AWS, EC2. It can be Azure. It can be Google Cloud. All these things are there. So here also we are using GitHub Actions. We are creating a YAML file. Everything you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
getting an idea like where every
Hmm.
MLOps tools are specifically used? Not try to find out more alternatives. What all
Hmm.
MLOps, what are other tools I can use specifically use? Then for model monitoring, you have Grafana,
Hmm.
right? Grafana. You have Prometheus,
Prometheus. Hmm.
right? For model monitoring, for model prediction, what I can do is that I can also save all the prediction in my Postgres. I can connect it with my Grafana, and I can probably create the visualization dashboard. That is done. And from that visualization dashboard, I'll try to understand, hey, what are my parameters now? How much difference it is. Okay, my model is performing well or not. And it keeps on getting updated continuously,
Got
right?
it.
Because your entire cloud will be created in the AWS, right? You can probably integrate that in your application. So every MLOps tools, you are exactly getting an idea where to use it. And that is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
best way. First of all, understand the life cycle of a data science project. And this MLOps tools are to manage the entire project itself.
Hmm.
You know?
No, I think to sum it up, the most important point that you have mentioned is to understand the ML life cycle. Without that, you cannot become an MLOps engineer, you cannot become a ML engineer, or you cannot
Mm.
solve any problem of that,
Yeah,
right?
similarly with the LLMs also, generative AI models are coming. If
Hmm.
you also want to take into production, what all things you really need to focus on? Again, focus on the
Hmm.
entire life cycle and then probably see that which all tools we can specifically use.
Got it. So again, you're talking about LLM ops, right? People are also often confused between ML ops and AI ops. Like, can you give your insight? What is the difference between ML
See,
ops and AI ops?
AI ops is more about when what I feel is that, see, there is something like one, you're creating ML models.
Hmm.
Okay. Let's say Netflix. Okay. It has a
Yeah,
recommendation system. The
yeah.
recommendation system may be created by ML,
Hmm.
or deep
Hmm.
learning or any other techniques, but that is integrated with a software engineering product, right?
Yes,
A streaming platform. A streaming
yes.
platform is my software engineering product, and I'm integrating a recommendation system over there. So whenever I
Hmm.
talk about AI ops, it's more about you are creating that entire AI application,
Hmm.
artificial intelligence application. It's just like a normal software product with AI intelligence. You can just say that, you know.
Got it.
So here, your machine learning is probably doing the recommendation system, and that machine learning application, how I am integrating with my software engineering product, right? So that entire scope of understanding basically comes up
Hmm.
with respect to that AI engineers, right? So in one of my in my last company, which was Panasonic, I was an AI engineer over there. You know,
Okay.
we were having IoT devices because we need to, like, Panasonic has a lot of IoT devices, right? And we had to integrate a lot of ML models in those devices, you know. So we were doing that kind of task itself.
Hmm. Okay. So somewhere they are related, but it is more about the integration with the
Yes, you need to
software.
have a knowledge of software engineering plus
Hmm.
the data science part, the MLOps part, you can probably say, how you can
Got it.
probably go ahead and integrate it and all. How you have to integrate it in a scalable way, you know.
Got it. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely this space is very interesting, and anybody who wants to learn, I think this is an ocean, exciting. And I would like to tell our subscribers that if you want to learn MLOps at this point, Krish has amazing resources on YouTube. I am also following the resources. You can get the MLOps course on Krish YouTube channel, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That would be. And this all courses are just for 399 rupees. I'm just doing it
Yeah.
for some sake so that, but my
Yeah.
focus is on YouTube itself. That is the plan as we go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Krish.
Yep.
And hope to have many more conversations like this, and our
Sure,
subscribers will also follow your channel and follow the content. Thanks,
sure,
Krish.
sure. Definitely. Thank you. Thank you, Abhishek.